Thank you for your welcoming here to me. Actually, it's good that we had this little misunderstanding. So basically, we will awake after the break. First of all, congratulations to Latvian Football Federation for this initiative, which is becoming already an international event. And I want to say thank you for inviting me here and for taking interest in our humble experience in Moldova integrity path, especially in the 2023 period. So let's embark in this adventure. Okay, does it work? Yes. So let me start my presentation with a short introduction where we stand as country and football, so that you can better picture what our challenge is in terms of match fixing. We are a small country in Eastern Europe, actually twice as small as Latvia. Our population is 3.5, but is decreasing due to immigration. So basically, this precarious economic situation has some indirect impact on the football development and sport in general. Our position in FIFA ranking is 159, actually. So a quick overview of the statistics. We have our senior championship comprised of 3 divisions. The first division is Superliga and has only 8 professional clubs. The first division has 12 teams, 12 clubs with, if I may use this term, semi-professional. I don't like it too much, but you understand the point. And the second league, the third league, but which is Liga 2, has 24 clubs, totally amateur. The youth championship comprises 89 clubs with a number of 6,500 players. The women's championship is not professional at all, only 5 senior clubs with about 1,000 players and 38 youth teams. So having this landscape in mind, I would move to our main subject, and I'd like to spotlight the research that was made by FIFPro back in 2012. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but one of the main, which is called the Black Book of Eastern Europe, and one of the main conclusion of this book was that professional football in Eastern Europe is struggling with a terrifying lack of respect for the rights of professional players. Why this is important? Because a player who is not paid his salary in due time he has a greater chance of being approached by match fixer, and of course he becomes vulnerable. Actually, the study shows that 55% of the players who were approached did not receive their salaries in due time. Why I'm pointing to this issue? We know that the prevention should be multidimensional, and therefore the players' financial well-being and their capacity to say no, to reject any attempt of match fixing should be of paramount importance. For example, in our country, in terms of risk assessment, we realized that basically one big issue, important issue, is the fact that the management of a team is trying to blackmail the players with their dues and their salaries. In this context, I'm going to move to our cases. So the first case of manipulation that was identified and sanctioned by our FA occurred in 2012. In this particular case, it was the president actually of a top-tier club, FC Sfântu Gheorghe, who influenced the players and to intentionally lose a match for a reward of 50 euros. He coerced the players by blackmailing them that they are not going to receive their salaries if they refuse. So basically what I was telling about earlier. What sets this case apart is that the investigation started with the players reporting it. 7 players on the club reported this situation. Investigation has started, and finally the president, also the coach, were found to be guilty of match fixing. They were fined with $15,000 and $8,000 respectively, and were banned from engaging in any sport-related activity for periods of 5 and 2 years respectively. Another notable case that made its way to the state court was the Mungiu and Beseden case. These cases revolved around the attempt to ensure the Moldova women's football team defeat against the Latvia on August 2023 during the European Under-17 Championship with a margin of 2 goals. These two perpetrators, who were actually a sports journalist and one sports official, they approached the coach and proposed her to make amendments altering the team's tactical strategy and the selection. Of course, she refused it and immediately reported the case to our FA management and to National Anti-Corruption Center, and the match proceeded fairly. It ended in a 1-1 draw. Subsequently, the individuals were convicted for the bribe and sentenced to 2 years of prison with suspension. And in 2014, in February 2015, UEFA imposed a lifetime ban on the football official. In 2015, 2 Singaporeans were arrested for an alleged attempt to fix a match, this time involving Moldova Anti-21 team, and they actually tried to bribe officials from the Football FA with $50,000. The bribe was to ensure that Belgium would win the match played in March 2015 with a 3-goal margin. Again, due to cooperation between the FA and the National Anti-Corruption Center, the perpetrators were arrested and convicted, this time to 4 years of prison. Finally, of mentioning the negative impact that's on our football image that had an individual that afterwards moved his activities in Latvia. I think you know who I'm talking about. It's Adlan Shishkanov, and on this occasion I want to congratulate Latvian FA and UEFA, who worked together to apply the sanctions, the adequate sanction to individual. I don't know if you are aware, but before moving to Latvia, he was the president, for 7 years actually, he was the president of a top tier club in Moldova, Dacia. It doesn't exist anymore. And, well, I think it was a contribution to the significant spread of match fixing at that time. In 2014, our prosecutor officer started investigation on money laundering. Then in 2016, there was on tax evasion. I think those procedures are still ongoing. So, keeping in mind this...
Atceroties šādu te iepriekšēju lietu klāstu.
Deplorable statistics at that stage when it came to BFTS reports. So we had, in 2017, we received 51 reports on 51 matches. On 2018, we had 8 reports. And on 2019, we had 13 reports. So, with this situation in 2020, the Football Association of Moldova decided to adopt the zero tolerance approach and to tackle the problem holistically. So in this respect, we, in 2020, just before the pandemic in March 2020, it was created the Integrity Unit with 2 full-time employees. Their main target was to concentrate on the detection of match fixing and protection on the game. The chief of the unit received immediately training from UEFA Football Integrity Program on how to identify and investigate match fixing. Meanwhile, we concentrated on our disciplinary code. Also in March 2020, it was amended with an emphasis on the prosecution of match fixing. So what were the innovations of this disciplinary code? The possibility to sanction the club, because before we had only the possibility to sanction on individuals. So we had this strict liability principle introduced for legal persons. Then we had the prohibition on betting on football competition, the prohibition to use inside information. We introduced the comfortable satisfaction principle, which in my opinion is crucial in prosecution of match fixing, and the obligation to immediately report information of match fixing. Also, we described the procedure in terms of investigating cases of match fixing with a final report output. So already with these provisions of the disciplinary code, we passed an information to the football community that we are going to prioritize the subject of match fixing, and we understood that we need to concentrate on the following 4 elements. So that would be prevention, detection, sanctioning, and cooperation, and I am going to go through each of them, describing the actions that were taken by our FA within these 2 years. So the prevention, we realized, of course, the importance of education and awareness-raising campaigns. So therefore, in 2021, we started a huge campaign called Zero Tolerance to Match Fixing. In this campaign, we were assisted by FIFA Integrity Unit, who provided us with printable materials. You can see here different. They were printed in different formats and were deployed in the most strategic points, sports, football points. So basically, they were disseminated to all the football community, starting from youth, finishing with the seniors. So it was deployed in locker rooms, offices, stadiums. We had also big size board that displayed and that still are displaying on the stadiums during the competitions of the top league. We also elaborated 2 short videos, actually, and I'm going to play it a little bit for you. I don't know if it's, yes, it's playing, so it's muted, so I can talk. Meantime, so basically it's a 6-minute video that is explaining the phenomenon, the typology of match fixing, the approaches, and the monitoring also, the consequences, the threats, and certainly it makes reference to the disciplinary code and show the importance of reporting. The other video was a shorter one, and it actually addressed messages from a Moldovan legend of football legend to the community of football to reject match fixing. So these videos are used by our integrity department during their awareness-raising and educational campaign. Next step was to organize already educational and awareness-raising sessions for specific groups, where I'm talking about referees, coaches, and of course players. So within a period of 2 years, we have targeted referees from Superliga, League One, coaches from the same Super League, League One, and the national teams. We targeted and addressed men's national teams and women's national teams and players from Superliga. Another important achievement of our FA was to obtain in 2022 the certificate of international standards ISAO first 90001, which is the quality management, but most important is the 37001 anti-bribery management system. Basically, Moldova FA became the first federation in the world to obtain this certificate, which is an important one in protecting the game and continuing to fight the different form of corruption in football. Next step and next pillar certainly is the detection. So in terms of detection, we know that manipulation is sometimes difficult to detect since, as Cas put it, yes, the corruption is by nature concealed and the parties involved will seek to evasive means to ensure that they leave no trail of their wrongdoings. Cas also underlined the limited investigative powers of sports governing bodies in detecting this behavior. Therefore, for us, BFDS reports it's an important tool in detecting and subsequent sanctioning match fixing. And the CAS and the Swiss Federal Tribunal in their awards confirm BFDS reliability and credibility in detecting match-fixing cases. However, as CAS also stated, BFDS serves as a basis for investigation, and sometimes it would be preferable to have more evidences, supporting evidences. So therefore, in our investigation and prosecution, we tried to build our cases on a strong basis, and for each investigated matches, we try to get reports from other companies, from different betting monitoring companies that would offer us a stronger stand of circumstantial evidence. So consequently, we teamed up with two companies in a partnership focused on the fight against threats of match fixing. So we're talking about Star Lizard and Stats before. So the two companies are offering us an analysis that combines deep insight into how the betting patterns should behave, and also a detailed on-pitch performance analysis and research. But in our investigation, we also relied occasionally on reports coming from other companies, and here you can see a list of it. Now I will continue with the logical nexus, which are the recent proceedings, the 2 years proceedings and the decision that we reached. So the first one on 28 May 2021, our ethics committee passed two decisions sanctioning two top divisions. One was FC Speranța, Nisporeni, and the other Florești. In case of Speranța, we had a sanction in form of a fine of 10,000 euros. Why? Because actually at that moment, when the decision was passed, the club withdrew from the competition due to financial problems. So basically the only sanction that was possible, it was a fine. And the other club that was sanctioned in the same day was Florești, this one with a 6-point deduction. Moreover, 6 players from both teams were sanctioned with a ban from football for any football-related activity for periods of 1 and 2 years. The decision were appealed to the appeal committee by the club and by the players, but ultimately the decision were confirmed entirely, and afterwards we requested also FIFA to extend the sanction worldwide. It is worth mentioning that during investigation and legal procedures, new BFDS reports were received on this club, on FC Florești, and consequently our integrity department started new investigation. And new proceedings were opened against the club. As an aggravating factor was that one of the BFDS reports addressed a match that was played after the first decision was passed and notified to the club, so it was actually classified as recidivism. And on 17 January 22, actually, the club was banned based on new evidence and was excluded from the, not banned, but excluded from the top tier competition and relegated to the lower division. The investigation on another top tier club led to new case and new decisions. Decision passed on 18 July 22. The Super League club Dinamo Auto was sanctioned also with 6-point deduction, and 3 players were banned from any football-related activity for 1 year. For 2023, we also have undergoing disciplinary proceedings involving one club and a few of its members. Hopefully till the end, I'm not going to give too much details, but hopefully till the end of the year, we are going to have some decision in this respect. So these were the figures, but now as a sport lawyer, I would really like to elaborate a little bit on the decisions and focus on the elements that led to investigation, prosecution, and subsequent sanctioning of this club. So as in many cases, our basis for investigation are the BFDS reports. In each particular case, the investigation and charges started with a minimum number of 4 games in which, according to BFDS, the club were found potential complicit in match fixing. So to be more specific, for Speranța, we had the reports concerning 5 games played in 2022, Florești 5 games in 20 played, and then 7 games in 2021. And for Dinamo, we had reports on 5 games played in 2021. So the integrity department, through its investigative report, have comprehensively analyzed the matches and concluded that they were manipulated in order to arrived to reach this conclusion that the club was at least indirectly involved in match-fixing activities based on the strict liability principle. The following elements have been incorporated. So we had additional betting reports. We have the BFDS reports that analyze the suspicious odds detected during the matches, and explicitly mentioning that that the betting patterns that were detected, they actually contrasted to the logical expectation. There was no legitimate or justifiable explanation for them. So we relied on additional reports coming from companies like X. So GLMS, now Elise, Genius Sports, Starliza, that they say, Stars Perform. So basically who analyzed the same patterns and arrived to similar conclusions. So for each analyzed game, we tried to have around 1-2 additional reports confirming the conclusion from the BFDS. Removal of betting market also was a supporting element for match fixing. We paid attention to this information that some bookmakers removed some or all of their markets during the investigation. The next element was the history of suspicious matches. What do I mean? So sometimes we would receive, in some cases, we'd receive some Sports Radar general summaries regarding matches played in past years. This is important. This was important for the investigation because it wouldn't point only to some episodical incidents that maybe was orchestrated by 1 or 2 players, but it could show that this behavior was rooted in the activities of the club's management. Then certainly the suspicious behavior of players. So apart from Sports Radar again, we, at least one company, identified mistakes or underperformance of players in the investigated matches. But very important element was that it was established, and we have to establish actually that the actions on the field of play are connected, are deemed to be linked to the suspicious betting pattern. And expert analysis where it was possible. So lately we were relying on some opinion of some ex-players of the national team, which are known for their integrity, for advocated integrity values. And there was basically 2 players and 1 coach that we used their expertise. It is worth mentioning that they were not aware with the BFDS conclusion or our company's conclusion or our analysis. So basically this information was used as additional information and only on it was pointing to the same errors that were mentioned in the official reports. In one particular case of FT Flores, that was the second decision, if you have noticed, only the club was sanctioned, so no individuals were sanctioned. In this conclusion, actually, we relied on the CAS jurisprudence that the strict liability of a club can be established without the need to identify a specific perpetrator, as long as the offenses was committed by the individual acting under the umbrella of the club in question. The players. So the issue with the players is that usually, especially when they are influenced by their management, and that players are not going, the same player is not going to participate in each match manipulation in each case. So they are basically rotation. There is a rotation, and moreover, most of them are switching club about once a year. Additionally, due to the concealed nature, of course, of match fixing and to our limited investigative powers, sometimes we'll have to rely only on the performance of the players during a match. So therefore, when we consider the allegation against players based on their performance, we consider that we have to take a combination of the following elements. In a history of matches where he is identified as a person of interest, the performance analysis, and that would be preferable to have several companies that, especially if we are talking about one match, when the player is spotted in one match. A comparative analysis, I would say, what is the level of the usual level of the player, what is his behavior, what was his behavior before committing a specific error, and how, and next was if we can establish the link between the suspicion betting and the specific error, the underperformance of the player. And certainly the position of the player, whether he can rebut the allegation brought against him or not. However, given the specificity of match fixing, of course, we have to remember that there's no clear pattern to follow, so it will have always a case-by-case scenario. And finally, based on this short experience of prosecuting match fixing in March 2023, this year basically, we adopted a new code of discipline and ethics. And in terms of manipulation, a wider, harsher range of sanction of clubs was introduced, exactly the possibility to exclude a club from any competition for periods from 1 to 10 years. And the relegation to any inferior category compared to the old version, only to the next immediate category was possible. In terms of individual sanction, we somehow were inspired also by your example, those of your neighbors. We set a lower threshold, but that depending especially on cases where an investigation is based only on one match and on the performance on the field of play. Also with the aim to detect the real perpetrator, not the last element in the chain, which are the players, we introduced the possibility of partial and or total exemption from sanctioning for cooperation and assistance. So if the player or any official is willing to collaborate even at a later stage of the procedure, there is a possibility to cut his sanction by half. So we hope that this provision will encourage the individuals to speak up and to punish actually the real perpetrators. Also, our competition rules provide the obligation of each club to introduce into the registration system a declaration of integrity, which is signed by each player, and basically no registration from under 15 is allowed without this declaration being introduced. I will move now to the last pillar, which is cooperation, and here I'm going to talk about the Macolin Convention, because maybe you are aware or not, but Moldova ratified the Macolin Convention and is now a member of the monitoring committee. The convention entered into force in 1st September 2019. At the moment we speak, there are already 9 countries that have ratified the convention. The newcomers are France and Iceland. The Macolin Convention is a legal instrument and the only rule of international law that's on the manipulation of sports competition. The cornerstone of the convention is the Article 15 that points to the national platform and stipulates the engagement of each state party to establish a national platform. So basically, which according to the convention is a structure that encompasses representatives from all the stakeholders, public and private, that have a stake in the fight against match fixing. And here includes also the sport organization and betting operators that should cooperate together in preventing, detecting, and sanctioning the match manipulation. In Moldova, the host of the national platform is assigned to the anti-doping agency. We have the same values, the integrity. However, it is important to mention that due to our extensive experience, Moldovan Football Association was entrusted with the coordination of the national platform. Then, with the aim of supporting the establishment of the national platform, mobilizing the stakeholders, we were included in the KCOS project, so Keep Crime Out of Sport, a Council of Europe project for technical assistance. In the framework of a project, we elaborated the roadmap and an action plan for 2022-23 years. It's a strategic document that defines the priorities and the expected results, as well as the concrete steps forward the implementation of the Macolin Convention in Moldova. Although we can tick some of the commitments of this action plan, we're still in the implementation phase. Unfortunately, it's a bumpy road. Somehow it's difficult, and my main frustration, and our national platform, it's still not legalized. But we are in the process, and all the documentation now at the government, and basically we're waiting for their decision. However, we managed to identify the stakeholders, the contact points, we worked on the regulation of the national platform, and we managed to build synergies and working on the building trust, which is essential because we have to work on the to work on the cooperation between all the stakeholders. And the last project in this cooperation pillar is the Motive Action project. It is incorporates 6 countries, coordinated by France. We have here Bulgaria, Cyprus, Greece, Poland, and Portugal. So it's a project that intends to improve the quality and the effectiveness of the whistleblowing mechanism, reporting mechanism in terms of match fixing. And to fulfill these objectives, one key step was to understand the domestic framework, as well as to consult sports stakeholders and understand their needs, their priorities, and their constraints with regards to whistleblowing. The project started with disseminating a questionnaire between about 100 athletes, mainly from football. Then a country visit was conducted by the experts from the Council of Europe, and we worked with 3 target groups, players, coaches, and referees. And a dialogue actually was conducted, and based on that dialogue, a set of 4 actions were recommended that would contribute to the detection and investigation of match fixing. I want to elaborate a little bit on this set of action, because it can be quite valuable. So the first one was to strengthen the integrity network. So the recommendation was to identify integrity officers in 4 target target federations. So basically the federation that are at risk, which match fixing, apart from football that actually is coordinating this activity. We're talking about tennis, table tennis, and basketball. And another innovation was initiative to create an integrity community that would consist with players, coaches, referees, again from these 4 federation. This small group should encourage actually sport actors to speak up and to advocate, and they would advocate the integrity values. Another action was to create a communication and awareness raising campaign. So in this respect, we had to elaborate some posters and disseminate them and display them in the most strategic locations, sports schools, university, and sports federations. This campaign is again run by Football Association of Moldova. We together with the National Anti-Corruption Center, and it was spread already to the 3 federations. Next, it would be to strengthen the legal and the disciplinary arsenal. That means that to encourage the target football federation to modify their disciplinary codes in alignment with the guidelines from the Olympic Movement Code. Moreover, it was recommended to amend the whistleblower law, that it has to extend the same protection that is offered to whistleblower from our sector to whistleblower from sport. And also within the scope of the project, but also with our commitment to the Materiāla Convention, we started discussions on the amendment of the sports law. So to encompass the definition of the Materiāla Convention on manipulation and illegal betting, to encompass also the legal status of the national platform and the obligation of sport organization to adapt measures to detect and to sanction match fixing, to prohibit betting on their own competition, but also the obligation, the duty to report. And speaking about the duty to report, we had to elaborate a clear procedure to alert. And 2 months ago, on the site of the National Anti-Doping Agency, actually we delivered this button. So these are some pictures from our activities. But here's the reported button that would send you to another site where you can report even anonymously. We have this awareness raising campaign. If you see the QR code, basically this QR code sends you to the same site of the National Anti-Doping Agency. And of course, at the football level, at the Football Association, we also have our dedicated page where we can report. It's explained how the reporting mechanism works and where it can be reported. So, after all this vast amount of information that I have presented to you, let's see what are the outcomes. Okay, in terms of BVDS, so this is the most important. I think you remember what we had till 2019, 2020, we still had 19 cases, 2021, 21 matches, so basically still a red flag. But we started the campaign, then we had the, in 2021, we had the 2 sanctioning cases. So 2022, it presents us reports on 3 matches, and 2023, we have only 2 matches, so I think it's self-explanatory. What are the grounds for these results? So I believe it's a holistic approach, the fact that we paid attention to all the 4 pillars, and I would like just a quick synthesis on this. So the prevention, we had the awareness raising, education, training campaigns, the ICO certificate, the motive action project here. We have the competition monitoring and exclusion of authorized scouts from games, and also the possibility to, sometimes we didn't use it, but the possibility to actually cut the transmission of data in case we know that the match is at risk. In terms of detection, we had the risk assessment, the expert companies' evaluation, and the reporting mechanism. In terms of sanctioning, we amended the regulation according to the international requirements, but also to national needs. So we have the investigation, prosecution, and of course, the sanctioning. In cooperation, we have Maclean Convention, we have the national platform, the KCOS project, so the possibility to cooperate with law enforcement forces, with our national platforms. So we have the participation in seminars, special programs, and I would mention here the 6th program of UEFA Academy. Yeah, I wanted to tell you that I was honored to be part of the first graduation class together with your representatives and some of our representatives here in the audience. So basically, it was an amazing experience, and it was a very practical, comprehensive program. So if you have the chance to enroll it, please don't hesitate. So, nevertheless, we have some challenges still. Let's see what our challenges in terms of prevention. We still should work on the lack of trust from the athletes. We don't have, unfortunately, a players' union with whom we could cooperate. The economic ecosystem is not friendly in developing the competition, and of course, we don't have the possibility to raise the income of players, coaches, and referees. In terms of detection, well, the lack of, we encounter lacks of experts, especially at domestic level, and reduce financial resources to enter in partnership with more monitoring or data analysis company. In terms of sanctioning, we have, like every federation actually, have limited capacities of investigating. I wouldn't say lack, but again, limited knowledges of investigation and prosecution, both at disciplinary and criminal level. In terms of cooperation, it's a long bureaucratic procedures for legalizing a national platform. Therefore, as a consequence, we have a reluctance from some of the public actors in cooperating or sharing information. So, on a final note, what are the lessons that we have learned from our experience, achievement, and challenges? So, as ordinary as may sound, I would put first the need to unite all our forces, because all the stakeholders, be it public or private, we possess information and experience that others don't, and we need to exchange it. On the football level, The initiative that was taken by UEFA and FIFA in bringing together representatives from different member associations, organizing regional seminars, sessions, special programs should continue because the outcome is visible in terms of expertise. We need to seek evaluation and expertise solution on a permanent basis. We need to focus on the domestic laws and regulations. They should be always adapted to the international requirements, but also tailored to national needs and take into account the international jurisprudence. We need to concentrate on building trust, especially when it comes to football community, and if we can involve the players, coaches, or referees union, that would be a great asset. And finally, we have to prioritize the subject on the political level. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.